Monday, May 15th, 2023. Please rise. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Secretary, please take roll.
Dave Franz,
Present.
Jim Hurst,
Present.
Mary Babanowski,
Present.
Larry Jones,
Present.
Cindy Madrick,
Present.
Chris Lake,
Present.
Sharon Walker.
Present.
All right, before we get started, just to let you know, there was an item on the docket tonight. The form-based code update, that's not going to happen tonight. That's going to happen next month. So if anybody's here for that, just to let you know. In your packet, there was a set of minutes from the April meeting. Is there any comments, additions, deletions to those minutes?
I move to approve the minutes.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, signify by aye. Aye. Opposed by nay. All right, minutes are approved. On to continuance from the last month, docket number 2023-09Z, Old Town Land Development, Wild Air Planned Unit Development, 8700 East State Road 334. Petition for rezoning of 260 plus minus acres from the rural R2 classification to the planned unit developments.
Need to recuse myself again, so.
All right, thank you. So there'd be 6 members of the commission on this one. Still would take a vote of 4 for any approvals on any action we take. This point, petitioner, please. Sorry. Oh, that's, we changed our method. Sorry. Roger, go ahead.
Thank you. Tonight I'm going to give an abbreviated presentation compared to what I did last month, just to summarize, but I would also very informally like to ask the public's patience tonight. We are trying something new by projecting things up onto the screen from this laptop. So it's a little bit of trial and error. So we would appreciate your patience. So, first case tonight is introduced as 2023-09Z, a proposed rezoning for the Wild Air Planned Unit Development. The property, as you see on the map and on the screens in front of you, is generally located north of Oak Street and south of County Road 550 south, involving multiple parcels on the east and west sides of Marysville Road. And you can see Marysville Road, how it bisects the property. The current zoning of the property is the entirety of it is zoned R2, which is rural, single and 2-family residential. The comprehensive plan calls for this area. Zoom in a little bit more here. Calls for this area to be medium residential. The blue dots that you see there on the screen are Marysville Road, how it bisects the site. The project, the petitioner seeks to rezone 260 acres, PUD classification to provide for a mixed-use development, including single-family residential. This single family would consist of estate lots, traditional neighborhood designs, ranches, and cottages. Townhomes and apartments would also be included. There would be an area for retail, senior living use, civic use, and preserved wetlands. The entire site would be divided up into 8 use blocks. The senior ranches use block located here in the northeast portion of the site. Custom estates use block located here on the west side of Marysville Road. We have traditional neighborhood development use blocks located on both sides of Marysville Road. We have some here and then also some down through here. The center commons use block right in the heart of the development would include some retail uses, and the apartments that are proposed would all be within the center use area. We have cottage use block area for seniors. I'm sorry, here. And the senior living use block. And finally, a civic use block down on the far south side, which would have frontage on Oak Street. The final area is a woodland preservation area of approximately 30 acres here on the west side of Marysville Road. The complete list of permitted uses and accessory uses for each use block is identified within the proposed PUD's ordinance use table. Development standards for each use block are identified in the proposed development standards matrix. The topics of interest from last month. First of all, staff had raised a question about future changes to intensity or uses. That has been revised so that any future changes to the intensity of use would not only come here to the Plan Commission, but it would then also be forwarded to the Town Council for resolution, very similar to the process that a rezoning goes through. The other item of primary interest from last month's meeting was an additional pedestrian crossing of Marysville Road. Petitioner has offered commitment language for either a pedestrian tunnel or an additional at-grade crossing. I'll defer to the petitioner for further discussion on that topic. Staff's position on this petition is that we recommend a favorable forwarding to the Town Council, subject to the following conditions: resolution of the TAC comments pursuant to development plan approval process, implementation of the traffic impact study recommendations to the satisfaction of the Department of Public Works, and recordation of a commitment for the additional pedestrian crossing of Marysville Road. The language that was presented to you this evening. So with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
All right, thank you, Roger. At this point, I'll have petitioner come up.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the commission. For the record, my name is Matt Price. I'm the attorney for Old Town Land Development. I want to reintroduce our team from last month. I've got with me tonight Justin Moffitt sitting in the front row, Ed Hamilton and Neil Garadia. Each of the three of these individuals, together with myself, is available to answer questions that you may have as the matter is considered tonight. Mr. Kilmer did an excellent job of summarizing, kind of bringing the matter forward to you tonight based on where things were left back in April. And I'd like to just reiterate and summarize a few of those points myself, and then touch upon the commitment regarding the pedestrian and access or crossing across Marysville Road. First of all, we did revise the text both in sections 12.4 and 14.3 to provide that any change to the PUD ordinance would require really two steps: consideration before the Plan Commission in a public hearing, and then approval by the Zionsville Town Council. Wanted to remove any doubt that that anything could be changed to the ordinance without the concurrence of the Town Council. And so that's been incorporated into the ordinance that you have before you this evening. Secondly, in section 10.3, there was a sentence regarding the possibility of providing modifications to drainage plans other than the plans that are specified by the stormwater control ordinance for the town of Zionsville. And what we've made clear is that any drainage plan must comply with the town of Zionsville stormwater control ordinance. The ordinance itself does provide some flexibility, but we didn't want any ambiguity. We're not talking about any flexibility beyond that contained in the stormwater control ordinance. So any petition must comply with the stormwater control ordinance as applied by the town and its Department of Public Works. We also made certain clarifications with regard to Exhibit 5 and the road section graphics, and what those were necessitated by is that the Department of Public Works just wanted to clarify that those exhibits reflected the minimum setbacks adjacent to each particular road classification. And so we went back through and just made sure that each one of those diagrams reflected the minimum setbacks associated with each type of road classification. And then the last item that we were asked to research, conduct additional investigation, and return to you with a proposal was with regard to a pedestrian crossing across Marysville Road. And so we did that. Our engineering team met with the town's engineering team and Department of Public Works. We conducted some additional field investigation with regard to the construction practicalities on the site to confirm that the commitment we're about to offer is in fact one that can be fulfilled if the town chose to go this direction. And so we've concluded that in the affirmative that a pedestrian crossing is possible. We are proposing to leave that to the town's determination as to the type of pedestrian crossing. We're proposing that it be located south of the southernmost roundabout between Oak Street and that roundabout, and that the town can determine whether it would prefer a tunnel below Marysville Road, including accessible pedestrian trails and sidewalks. And I gave a handout today that shows such a tunnel. We're familiar with these tunnels here locally as well, but included a representation of such a tunnel or an at-grade pedestrian crossing utilizing what's called rectangular rapid flashing beacons. It's a particular type of road crossing system with the specified appropriate pavement markings and signage that attend to a rectangular rapid flashing beacon system. In addition, that system would include a pedestrian refuge island in the median between or in the center of Marysville Road. That would be an added feature to that at-grade crossing feature. We've put that commitment language in writing, as is the town's custom and practice. This exact verbiage or verbiage approved by the Plan Commission and adopted by the council would then be incorporated into the town's form of commitment, which would be placed of record against the real estate and would run with the real estate into the future and be put the public on notice of the commitment. We believe that addresses each one of the items that we were asked to review in anticipation of tonight's meeting. And Justin, our development team, and myself are available to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. At this point, I'll open it up to public comment. The comment should be limited to the items that we're discussing tonight, which is the change in the language in the PUD or the commitments that they're willing to make. So if anybody would like to speak, please come forward.
My name is Todd Mattingly. I live at 8888 East, 575 South, which would be just north of the property concerned, formerly of 625 Sycamore Court, which is just west of the property concern. So I've been adjacent to this property for 37 years. Correct me if I'm saying some things that aren't in your allowed topics, but you mentioned when you're that this is part of the medium density plan that was approved in the 2014 Zionsville master plan, which, you know, when I read that, it says characterized by smaller lot subdivisions, 1 to 3 families. It makes no mention of commercial. It makes no mention of apartments. And I think that this plan that we have in front of us, it deviates quite
That's
greatly.
really not what we're talking about tonight. I understand where you're coming from, but you know, this is within the rights of the town to make modifications to the zoning to adjust for this. So
So that decision's been made.
hadn't been made. We're deciding on if we're gonna make a favorable recommendation, unfavorable, or no recommendation to the town council. on the
So all the
zoning
10
request.
commercial uses they listed could happen depending upon your recommendation.
Well, depending on how the PUD ends up getting developed,
Okay.
which is subject to development plan, which comes before the plan commission also.
All right. So in evaluating a PUD, as I read your criteria, it says any real estate may be rezoned to a PUD if the characteristics of the site development is compatible with the surrounding areas. Now, I got on Google Maps, and I'm sure everybody's.
Again, this was discussed last month. We're we're limiting the discussion to the items that we've got. You'll have an opportunity, whatever gets recommended to the town, there'll be an opportunity to make your comments at that time also.
So we don't want to discuss that it's not compatible.
What was discussed last month?
Okay, can I do the pedestrian crossing?
You can talk about the pedestrian.
Oh, thank you. 1 for 3 in the bag. Okay, in addition to being a neighbor, I'm a registered professional engineer, degree in geotechnical, structural, and I'm also a registered licensed contractor. I think that the idea that they will ever build a tunnel under Marysville Road is not possible. That's my professional opinion. It's not commercially feasible. Grades it takes to get the ADA handicap in there. And I don't know if you've driven down Marysville Road, but it was about 2 weeks ago that the water disappeared from the ditches. There is a very high water table out there. The wetlands that are there that they're donating, you know, are a testament to that. So I just want you to understand, when you agree to this proposal, you are agreeing to a road that they said will, if you read the traffic study, Marysville Road, the traffic will escalate quite greatly down that road. And you're looking at an at-grade crossing. I think that's your only potential. I noticed when they talked before, they said maybe over the grade, maybe under. And when they came back, they said, well, an at-grade's a possibility. The reason an at-grade's a possibility, because it's the only possibility. So that's my professional opinion. And I don't think it's a great idea on a busy road. So.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Is there anybody else who'd like to comment?
Hello, neighbors. My name is Kevin Schifferl. I live at 8552 East 550 South, and I too, like Mr. Mattingly, have been an adjoiner to this property for 37 years. Todd and Lisa, there you go. Obviously, I have other opinions I'm not going to share because I want to stick on what we're here to talk about, Mr. Chairman. And one of the things I heard was there were some changes to drainage and some road changes. And I wondered if any of those changes involve Marysville Road. And the reason I raise that is I was a proponent back in 1998 of the North-South Connector, it's called, and I applaud that was finally put in. When it was put in, I asked Lance why we were putting it in with ditches instead of curbs like we mandate when people do developments. And I was told that when the development comes along, that will be done. So my question is on Marysville Road, will there be sewers and curbs as part of the proposal that you put in and said you amended some things with drainage? I'm concerned if we as I told Lance, if we're going to mandate that of people that come here, I think we should have mandated that of ourselves when we put in Marysville Road. And I do realize it would add an expense, but it wasn't done. They put in French ditches and all that. And my concern about not taking care of Marysville Road, in addition to the internal roads, is echoing what Todd said. I'm not a professional engineer. I birthed one. And he tells me the same thing that Todd says, that it's a drainage problem. And we see that when it rains a lot. And I'm concerned with future development, what's going to happen with if we keep a ditch on Marysville Road. So I'm interested in hearing more about changes to the drainage plan and changes to the road plans. And I'd like to see this development, which so much utilizes Marysville Road, make sure that Marysville Road comes up to the same town standards that we have for all of our roads.
All right, thank you. Does anybody else like to comment? Additional like to comment?
Yes, let Mr. Moffitt would like to address the pedestrian crossing question first.
Good evening, Justin Moffitt with Old Town. Ed Hamilton is our engineering expert. So if we get any technical questions, I'll defer to him. But we took very seriously the question asked of us last month at Plan Commission. And had we wanted to give you a flippant response, we would have given it then that, yeah, we will, try to do it if it's possible. We instead said we need a month to go research the subject and find out what was possible. And so not only did we do quite a bit of engineering calculation with our civil Kimley Horn to figure out if we can actually get a tunnel to drain appropriately if one were installed. We actually went out and dug some test holes and let them sit to see if they would fill with water. We did the research. We can assure you that in heavy storm events, it's possible there's going to be standing water at the base of a subgrade tunnel. But we have designed it in a way that would have positive outfall to our stormwater system. So we would not have made that commitment if it were not possible. However, we did not feel like it was our decision to determine what happens with your right of way as a town. We believe that that is an appropriate decision made by either the planning commission, town council, the city's administration, or the Board of Public Works. We wanted to show our commitment to be willing to install either traffic mechanism that would be appropriate for this circumstance. So both have been vetted. And so we are willing to financially commit to either, but we didn't want to make a commitment to one that we believed that was impractical. As of a month ago, I would have told you, I think it's really impractical. And then Ed went and proved us wrong. And I would warrant to you that we did not want to be right because it's a significant potential expense for us. But we did determine that we did have positive drainage in order to make that work. Just for clarification, there will be work done to Marysville Road. Significantly, the most significant two elements are the proposed roundabouts. The southern roundabout would be elevated just a bit over the current road grade. So to get a tunnel to work, we'd have to, heading south off of that roundabout, we'd have to raise the road grade just a bit to get the clearance for the tunnel. But that's work that was already going to be happening related to the roundabout expansion. So we did prove that it is possible and are willing to make that commitment. Would you like to address curbing?
Ed Hamilton with Old Town Land Development. So anywhere we touch on Marysville Road where we're going to impact, so the two roundabouts, we're also going to have a right in, right out at the senior living facility block where we'll have right in, we'll have acceleration and decel lanes. We will have curbs on those improvements. It'll have curbs as well as storm sewer instead of the ditches. But the ability just to kind of come along and saw cut the edge and install a curb and gutter, it's not really practical. The profile grade of Marysville is virtually flat. It's less than the minimum you would put a curb on. So if we were to have to put curb and gutter on, we would be rebuilding all of Marysville Road to get at that right profile. So our intentions were only to impact Marysville where we need to, which is the right in, right out entrance and the two roundabouts, and where we'll have curb and gutter and storm sewer.
All right. I guess at this point, I'll open it up to members of the Plan Commission if they have any questions, comments.
Why would you put a pedestrian crossing where there are no people who live? You're putting it in woods and over to the center, I mean, almost to the senior living facility. Why wouldn't you put it where you have all the houses?
So at the southern roundabout that's proposed that enters what we would effectively call the main street of the neighborhood, there was a concern raised about the safety of crossing there with the traffic as people or cars exiting the roundabout. And so there was a theory thrown out of if we separated it from the roundabouts and connected what we're showing on our land plan as two significant park spaces. So on the west side of Marysville, we're showing a 30-acre wooded preserve.
Nobody lives there.
That would be a dedicated, but the idea is that it would connect to the east side of Marysville where there's significant density and another park that we would connect the two park spaces together. And so it was requested of us that we would provide a safe crossing place. And so these were the solutions that we came up with in partnership with the planning staff and Board of Public Works and Department of Engineering. So this was largely a response to a request for creating a safe crossing.
The 12-year-old kids are not going to walk down 2 years. Just saying.
because there is an interconnected sidewalk network, so paths on either side of Marysville, there would be a crossing still, at the roundabouts. But the goal was there'd be an alternative if desired.
Anybody else?
I need to ask a question.
Sure.
Explain to me how wide this area is where you're going to build the thing in the center. Is it just like a strip, like it's on 38th Street between the fairgrounds and the south parking lot? Is it wider? What is it?
We would follow the FHWA and USDOT recommendations, which is 8-foot minimum. That allows somebody crossing the the minimum's only like 5 feet. 8 minutes is 8 foot is recommended. So if somebody on a bicycle was there, they
Right.
would fit on that median.
Thank you.
Sure.
Dave, you may overrule about everything I'm going to say, but I'll say it anyways. Kind of losing faith in the entire HUD process. In general, my concerns is while the developers get a certain amount of benefit, and I understand Chris will talk about it, it's giving us more livable, walkable pathway developments. The town of Zionsville isn't really getting much in return. A lot of this harks back to some of my concerns with Holiday Farms, whereas we heard the initial PUD, there was talk of a pathway over 421, which is the cost of which will have to be, I think, entirely borne by the town of Zionsville, whatever happens. Secondly, was the issues regarding the old farmstead up there at the north end, where during presentation, we were given some sort of illusion there was some sort of community aspect to it. At best, the barn's going to get bulldozed and we'll have an insurance or a law office up there, or houses, but not much in benefit to the general community of Zionsville. A couple of my concerns kind of roll around. One, I did a little more review of the traffic study. And my concern with the traffic study is that per the presentations you guys have done, you speak of the property being titled for up to 735 residential units, whether that's multifamily, single family, or whatever. Within the PUD, there is no documentation as to the number of units that'll make up the assisted living facility, the senior living facility. It's only when you start going through the traffic study, you find out that it's 200 units are allocated for it. But once again, the PUD doesn't really set any kind of number of units that'll be in there. So it could be more than 200, it could be less. Also, as you go down through it, I started reading and checking into the civic aspect of it. Currently in the PUD, it is calling it out as a 20,000 square foot potential commercial structure of some form. The traffic study only calls it out as 10. So you kind of run down through the traffic study. Bottom line is the PUD is entitled for roughly 13% more residential units and 100% more commercial development down there on that corner. I just want to clarify, you guys don't own the residential parcel at the corner of Marysville and Oak, correct?
The parcel that is immediately on the north side of Oak Street, that's correct.
Secondly, if I'm reading this right, while the senior living facility will have a entrance off of Marysville, the civic piece as well as the service roads for the senior will come off of this rear access drive.
The senior living facility has a right in, right out off of Marysville Road.
Correct, but it also has two service entries off of whatever that road to the east of Marysville is.
The internal drive, internal
Correct.
street, yes.
And then the 20,000 square feet of entitled commercial property at the corner has no access off of either Oak or Marysville, and it's entirely off that service drive.
Well, I think it's, I think what you're referring to is the civic use block.
Correct.
I was just wanting to distinguish between that and the commercial. The retail space is in the Center Commons use district, which is across from the middle roundabout. The civic use space is the space that we reserve for the town's use for a civic use. So
So
not
then-
commercial.
In addition to the 935 count and 20,000 square feet of commercial, there's still more development to happen at that quadrant that was not factored into the traffic study.
Well, the critique of the traffic study by the town was that it actually overstated the background traffic and demonstrates that at each one of the studied intersections that we have.
But I'm
more
not
than
talking about
satisfactory service
what's
levels.
going on currently. I'm talking about the additional
Yeah,
use is understated.
well, no, I don't believe that's accurate to say that because the critique of the plan was that the background and planned additional traffic, meaning traffic from adjoining properties that are to be developed in the area, were stated more broadly than what's actually in the traffic impact study. That's what the traffic engineer said in response to our plan. He believed we overstated that traffic.
The way I read it is it said they went out and measured current traffic. And then they do a call it inflation or additional expansion of about 3% per year. And then I'm assuming whatever information is in your HUD, whatever's in your proposals and passed along to, well, and that's the concern. What you're asking this property to be entitled for, according to what I see in it, and what you are telling me now is 735 residential units, 200, well, there is no number applied to the nursing or the senior living. There's 20,000 square feet of commercial. And then there's still additional to that, whatever happens with the civic block.
I mean, those are in essence the correct.
And this is grinding back to my initial statement. The problem with what we are being provided is it doesn't really fully embrace what you are asking to be entitled for.
I think it does actually very specifically with.
I'm very
perhaps one
specifically
exception,
not
which is
finding the
that-
information I'm looking for.
Yeah, the only limiter that is not expressly stated is the number of rooms in the senior living facility. Although that is factored into the traffic impact study.
Correct.
200.
200.
Correct.
But if we approve this PUD, there is no limit.
There is not a stated cap on the number of rooms in the senior living facility. There is, though, with regard to the multifamily, with regard to the retail square footage, and
But
with
that's my
regard
beef.
to the
And there's no,
with regard
kind
to
of
single family homes.
and so what you're telling me is that the actual amount of commercial use in this would be 20,000, but that's all up in the and I'll get to this issue in a second as well, is that your exhibit number 5 doesn't really tie particularly well to any of the drawings you've supplied us, but we'll get there after that in a minute. So in other words, the civic area, the area in blue, the parcel down at Oak and Marysville, we don't know what the use of that's really going to be. And we don't have any cap on what it can be.
What we have done is reserve that for the town's determination of an appropriate civic use. And we've listed what those civic uses are in the PUD.
I know that the senior assisted facility or the section. Just curious, what would the ordinances say about the density of that piece? Do we have any idea what that is, Roger?
As Mr. Jones and Mr. Price have mentioned, the number of units is not specified within the PUD ordinance currently.
But under current, well, it's residential, so it's a.
And I'll just, and the reason I'm grinding away at all this is if I'm reading the traffic study correctly, it appears that it says this access road on Oak Street is just going to be a right in, right out only.
Correct.
So the expectation is the service vehicles for this civic use and the service units for this senior living are only going to make right in and right out at that point. My concern is
Yes.
people are going to be coming off the roundabout at Marysville and Oak Street, and be confronted on a 2-lane road with somebody stopping to make a left-hand turn. Because who's going to monitor it?
Heading east,
Heading east.
but it's limited to right in, right out. So you wouldn't be able to make a left-hand turn into that entrance.
Were they gonna, how thick is that paint gonna be?
It was requested of us through our planning process by the engineering department to put some sort of barrier, some curbing barrier. So I don't know if you've seen the triangular exit points. So you would be forced to do a right. And so the idea is there's a center island that would prohibit traffic from doing anything but a right in.
So
right
the
out.
commercial service vehicles coming off the interstate, coming east on Oak, gonna go through the roundabout. And then they're gonna find this and they're gonna go where to turn around. Whose neighborhood is the neighborhood? Is it Russell Lakes?
Absolutely, it would travel through our neighborhood if we were to develop this. So
Well, the
you,
problem is the civic block has no access when you're heading east on Oak Street, from what you just
the
said.
senior living block there, that would be, we would dedicate that through to the main road. We were just modeling a right in, right out there so we could show accurately every potential access point. And so that would be a lane that would travel through to the north-south boulevard that dissects the east part of the road. So in our land plan, that's called Wild Air Trails. That's the section, the TND section of that neighborhood. And so that node or that right in, right out on Marysville through the senior would connect into that as an interior lane. So you would be able to enter there for the civic use site, or you would be able to enter through the center commons area of the site.
Okay, but my point is the trash trucks, the delivery vehicles, the service vehicles, the employees, and even people using the civic use there at the corner, they are not going to drive north and through the neighborhood and around a roundabout and back south to Oak Street. They're going to want to leave those fairly intense commercial uses and want to head to Oak Street.
They would have to drive over a curb to accomplish that. And so it's possible, you're right, but
I'm
so
sorry.
I don't want to argue the point that somebody could do it, but
Okay.
our goal is to present a plan and then listen to the professional feedback of the city planners and engineers and say, then how do we mitigate these issues and provide safe access to the site? And so that's what we propose. So it becomes our vendors' challenge or our operators' challenge to say, here's
The town of
appropriate route to
Zionsville's
get there.
challenge,
Pardon?
or the town of Zionsville's challenge.
Well, who helps when we're doing this? Obviously, it's part of the development plan. Department of Streets, they're gonna
Right.
take a look at it. They're gonna make recommendations. They'll have their comments and their requirements on the ins and outs of these properties, correct?
That's absolutely correct. If the rezoning is granted, and that's your task with, is to forward a recommendation to the town council on the rezoning for this PUD. If the project goes through the town council can have another opportunity to review the project. Then subsequent development plan platting will occur. At each of those stages, the Department of Public Works will weigh in.
But who bears the cost of that work?
Well, obviously the developer has their engineering team that they'll have to pay their engineering team. And of
Who
course,
puts
the
in the
town,
road?
and the town, of course, bears the cost of any plan review, internal plan
Who
review.
bears the cost of the road?
Construction of the road? A public right of way. Marysville, so town. The town will bear the,
In
that's
any,
my-
Any idea what the road impact fee on this would be?
I don't,
And that's my rub.
yeah.
any
We're
improvements.
entitling 260 acres for a certain amount of housing, an undefined amount of senior living, an undefined civic use. And then when we look at the plan and we see a situation that we don't think would be, what's the word, feasible? What's that? You know that word I'm using?
I mean, it's, you would say untenable.
Untenable. There we go. Thank you.
Yeah.
The town of Zionsville then has to bear the cost of the fix. And isn't that the complaint we hear every time we approve any development?
Well, right now, we're not approving.
I understand we haven't approved
We're
anything.
just making a recommendation.
All right, I'll make two quickies. One, it's great that they've got this 30-acre forest area. There's no parking. So it's a community asset that, once again, the residents over there are going to bear the brunt because people are going to park at the curb. They're going to do anything with it. What was the last one? Something else, but those are the biggies. And then finally, I don't quite understand your exhibit 5, especially when you start talking about the traditional neighborhood development use block, single family without alleys, but they've only got a 10-foot setback off the sidewalk. So are these, I'm assuming they're going to have a garage. You can't get out of the garage without parking on the sidewalk. How's that work?
If you'll allow me, I'll answer a few of those. First of all, any improvements that are necessary to the right of way, the developer bears the cost of those improvements. In addition to those initial improvements we make, we have a per door impact fee, road impact fee that is nearly 7 figures for this project. So it's a significant contribution. So if there were additional improvements the town would see feasible after we make our initial improvements, they would have significant resources to make those improvements. I heard a comment around parking at the park, and I want to go on record with saying we have iterated on this land plan for nearly 7 months with the town planning staff and engineering to answer some of these questions at a granular level. And so when I look at this proposed 30-acre park, in the exhibits, you'd have to zoom in, but we show a delineated parking area in addition to on-street parking throughout the entire development. So we recognize that concern early and wanted to make sure that it was not seen as exclusive to the residents of the neighborhood. There was a delineated public trailhead with parking. So that has been resolved. Specific to this question about the TND lot type, a traditional neighborhood design, a feature of it is rear-loaded garages served by alleys. And so in that condition where you would have a 10-foot front yard setback, it's very similar to what you might see with some of the homes in the village area in Zionsville, where the homes have large porches, they engage with the sidewalk, and all the garages are at the rear on an alley. So there's effectively 2 frontages for that home type.
Anyone else? Any comments? It's our responsibility is to make a recommendation to the town council. Knowing that whatever our recommendation is, the town will ultimately make the final decision. We'll get another bite at the apple if it is approved from the development plan process. All the town departments will be involved in any of the decision-making, recommendations, et cetera. So that's basically the situation as I see it. With that, unless there's any additional comment, is there a motion on this matter?
I'll go for it.
All right.
I move that docket number 2023-09Z, a petition for zone map change to rezone approximately 260 plus or minus acres, move from the rural R2, approximately 260 plus or minus acres from the rural R2 classification to a planned unit development HUD district, with the recommendation being certified to the town council for adoption or rejection, receive a favorable recommendation as presented and based upon the findings in the staff report, subject to the following conditions. 1, resolution of TAC comments pursuant to the development plan approval process, and 2, implementation of the TIS recommendations to the satisfaction of the Department of Public Works, and 3, the proposed commitment language exhibit 6C be incorporated into a plan commission commitment form and recorded with the Boone County Recorder.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? Would the secretary please take roll?
Sharon Walker,
Aye.
Chris Lake.
He's abstained.
Oh, excuse me. Cindy Madrick,
Aye.
Larry Jones,
No.
Mary Grabanowski,
No.
Jim Hurst,
Aye.
David Franz.
Aye. We will forward this forward to the town council with a favorable recommendation by a vote of 4-2 at our earliest convenience. Next item on the docket. Let the room clear. All right, next on the docket is 2023-10 DP. BHI Senior Living, Hoosier Village Expansion, 5300 West 96th Street, Zionsville. Petition for approval of development plan for the expansion of the Hoosier Village CCRC with 89 attached townhomes on its 26.8 acres being zoned special use 7 SU 7. Roger, Janice, who's doing this one?
That'd be
Janice.
me, and
Okay.
we're just going to pull up those exhibits.
All right,
All good? This project is the Hoosier Village expansion. It's a request for a petition of approval of development plan for the expansion of the Hoosier Village with 89 attached townhomes on 26.8 acres, being zoned special use 7. A few items of interest are that the addresses for the townhomes are presently under review. This is special use zoning. As proposed, the petitioner requests to improve the site plan with 89 additional townhomes, a dog park, and a community garden. Exhibit 2 is your location map, which is generally, this site location is generally at the intersection of 96th Street and Zionsville Road. However, the subject site is approximately 26 acres located in the southeast area of the Hoosier Village campus. As I said, addresses for the townhomes are presently under review. The zoning map identifies the subject site as special use zoning. The zoning district is not affected with this petition. Exhibit 4 is a phasing plan. This demonstrates conceptually how the development plan may develop. Units in areas along Hoosier Village Road are being first developed. Units west of Hoosier Village Road to be developed second or third. East of the road developed second or third, and northern units will be developed fourth. The development plan, very briefly, shows us the entryway in from 96th Street. The very first island that you see is where the monument sign would be placed. It reflects the proposed boulevards and connections into the existing Hoosier Village campus through the Hoosier Village Drive. And you'll note the proposed dog park and garden area to the southeast area of the site. The elevations. The proposed improvements utilize a variety of materials and colorings. Renderings are attached to this report with additional supporting documents within the petitioner's materials. The buildings will be flat roofed. The facade offers a variety of materials, including brick veneer banding, fiber cement panels, and decorative metal railing on the balconies. The 3-bedroom townhomes are offered in light, medium, or dark color palettes, with the 2-bedroom offered in a medium color palette. The building color matrix, which is exhibit 5, depicts the color palette pattern of the buildings throughout the development. The landscape plan. There we go. At this writing, a tree preservation survey is in progress. However, the landscaping plan is found to be compliant with town standards. Highlights are that there is 1 shade per 50 foot of side yard provided for each townhome. Foundation plantings for the front and side of the units are provided at 2 plants per 100 lineal feet and are proposed to be ornamental trees, shrubs, and grasses. Also, the entryway from 96th Street will include mounding and extensive landscaping. Signage, as I mentioned, a new entry monument will be constructed with the existing island on the Hoosier Village Drive nearest to 96th Street. The photometric plan included here is lighting for the development. It's been reviewed and found compliant. Cut sheets of the building wall mounted signs are included and also show the elevation sheets provided. Street lighting is intended to be consistent with the Hoosier Village, and photometric plan reflects the street lighting will be contained within the site. Engineering comments. While staff comments seem extensive, it is noted that all the comments are in the process of resolution. Examples of this are the address plan and the right-of-way. Staff has no concern that all developed staff comments will be resolved. Draft commitments. Staff has requested and received commitments related to the staff request to dedicate 55-foot half right-of-way to the east of the entrance of this petition, which is reflected. Yeah, it's in the exhibit at the end of the commitments here. You'll see it highlighted in the exhibit. There you see. Can you put your cursor on it? Let's see. Half right of way to the east of the entrance of this petition is reflected in the exhibit. The petitioner has also agreed to install a 10-foot pathway along 96th Street. At such time, there is a pathway connection. Included in this exhibit are revisions from staff of the proposed commitments. I apologize, I should strike that statement. They actually have resubmitted the most updated commitments we have are in your packet. This project has been reviewed to the standards of the ordinance and found to be largely in compliance. Staff's position is favorable to the conditional approval of the petition, subject to the resolution of the remaining staff comments and the review and approval of the commitments by staff and council for the Plan Commission.
All right, thank you, Janice. Mr. Oakes, would you like to proceed?
Good evening. For the record, Tim Oakes, attorney at ISMO with offices at 1 American Square, Suite 2900, Indianapolis, Indiana. Here this evening on behalf of BHI Senior Living. Start by thanking staff and the folks on TAC that have reviewed this and done a lot of work to get the project where it is. I'm not going to rehash what Janice has gone through, just make a couple of comments. First, this represents probably the last significant area on the traditional Hoosier Village campus that has not been developed. BHI currently has a wait list of a little over 400 people that would like to move into Hoosier Village that they simply can't do. This represents a new style of product for BHI. And we think it will be well received. It is a townhome type unit, but we have a lot of folks moving into Hoosier Village that are active, seniors that like this type of plan. A few other points, and Janice, is it possible to put the site plan on the screen? Or
It is. It's actually, I'll let IT run up and show you how to turn that on.
While we're doing that, let the record reflect that Mr. Lake has rejoined the Plan Commission.
There we go.
oh, there it is. Okay. The reason why everything is oriented as it is with not very much down in this portion of the project is because we have 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 pipeline easements that cross this property. So we're extremely limited in terms of what we can do down here. So it pushes everything up. Second, the reason why the dedication of right-of-way along 96th Street is only to the east of the access point is because this area is right of way that has already been given to the Indiana Department of Transportation as part of 96th Street project they're working on associated with 465. Couple of other points, in the last couple of days, staff at BHI at Hoosier Village have received a couple of calls about concerns associated with the project part of Hoosier Village that is located directly adjacent to the site, this building here. And in particular, there are two garages here that people are concerned about. This garage will have to be demolished, but our site plans that we've submitted also show that we're going to rebuild that garage as part of phase one. And then the entry point on the garage that will remain is just going to get swapped around. So there's not going to be a net loss of any parking for any of the residents in this particular facility located on the campus. So with that, again, I think staff covered it pretty well. I think we meet all the requirements of the ordinance. There are no issues with utilities. They're all internal to the site. We've worked through all the drainage issues, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that the Plan Commission might have.
All right, thank you. At this point in time, is there anybody from the public that would like to comment on this matter? Being none, I'll open it up to the members of the Plan Commission.
Often what gets talked about when we're talking about multi-unit developments like this is the cost to the schools. Probably not particularly applicable here. I imagine, though, that this community will add to some other services in the town and the load. Someone can correct my ignorance, but is this a property tax-paying entity with these developments?
It is not, but two comments. One, it's age restricted under what's called the Housing for Older Persons Act. It's a federal law that is an exemption to the Fair Housing Act. It allows us to say no kids. So there's zero impact upon the schools.
On the schools. But
yeah, literally. On the other services, this is an active adults. They actually have a lesser impact on a lot of the services, even including traffic. A lot of these folks have a flexible schedule, so they don't travel the roads in AM or PM peak hours. They stay off the road and they do their errands and they do their traveling on off times. Same thing in terms of visiting restaurants and stores. These are the folks that usually go there during off times, and they actually fill in those spaces that exist. There's rarely any police runs out to Hoosier Village. That would be extraordinarily rare. And with this type of product, which is active adult, you've got stairs, you've got to go up and down. The amount of not ambulance runs or fire runs are anticipated to be, very low.
It's and the committee or its attorney can correct me if I'm getting too far off scope here, but it's been several years now since I've read the contract that Hoosier Village has with its residents. But does the contract for these units provide the standard of care that should they need assisted living or nursing or memory care, it's provided?
Yeah, as a whole, Hoosier Village is what's called a continuing care retirement community, CCRC. It is a highly regulated entity. They have all the licenses and inspections by the state health department, and it does what the name implies, continuing care. So on site, in addition to these types of townhomes, which are active adult, there are other more traditional single family ranches. You can move up into assisted living, there's skilled living, there are memory units, and people don't buy these units. They enter into a sophisticated license with BHI when they're ready to move, they get 95 to 98% of their money back. And then they, if you're a resident in the community, you have priority because you can't kick anybody out, but you get priority for space to move up. For example, now you need more care. We're going to leave the townhome. We're going to go to assisted living. Okay, now I need more care. I need to go from assisted living to skilled nursing. That's one of the whole purposes of continuing care retirement communities.
100%. As you continue to add, in this case, townhomes, are you also scaling up those other facilities, or is it increase the competition for the spaces in existence?
There is capacity for the amenities on site. So, this does add some amenities. It's got the dog park and the garden, and there'll be new walking trails. Those will be open to all the residents of Hoosier Village, as will all the amenities that already exist will be open to the residents of the townhomes. Those have been built to accommodate, this project, because BHI has always had this on their radar in terms of this is what we want to do. And but really the time is right because of two reasons. One, we finally switched them. Once upon a time, the main entrance into Hoosier Village was off 96th Street. It's now been relocated to Zionsville Road, and I think to great success. I think it looks great. And it's, I think, more appropriate. It's a Zionsville community, and having that main access off Zionsville Road makes it feel like it's more a part of the community. But we moved that, and then the work on 465, the wall, and the work on 96th Street have suggested now is finally the time where, this is the last remaining spot.
I thank you, and I appreciate you described some of the services are universal and have scaled. I was referring specifically to the skilled nursing, assisted living, memory care.
Yeah. We think, though, there's a waiting list. And I think long term, this is not going to be the last project at Hoosier Village, and additional work and maybe densification in the future are being contemplated. They just can't do it all at once. So this is the next step, and I'm sure BHI will be back in front of this plan commission in the future.
Thank you.
I have a question for staff. The streets in the property, are those maintained by BHI or are those maintained by the town?
BHI.
Okay. And is BHI on these 89 townhomes, which it sounds like it's about 32 buildings. Are they subject to a road impact fee? Or can anybody answer that?
I'm going to have to come back to you with that. Honestly, it's been a while since Hoosier Village come in with a project, so I'm going to have to take a look at it.
Do you know?
I believe it is.
Okay.
You're not subject to a road impact fee because you're putting in new roads. The road impact fee applies to a geographic area, and if you add an EDU, there's a charge per EDU.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Sure, Kamala asked the question. Now you got to come up and state your name. I did, but
my name is Dick Garrett, and I'm a resident of Hoosier Village, and I am concerned about fire management in these high density 3-story buildings. Is there any requirement for sprinklers, and will they be installed? I mean, I'm up in the 3rd floor, and if fire is on the 2nd floor, it's a dangerous situation, and they're dense. They're all packed in there. So that's my question. Is there any provision for fire?
You'd like to respond?
the units will be sprinkled, sprinklered, I should say. And commensurate with the requirements of the town. There'll be fire hydrants within 300 feet of every unit. So we meet all the requirements and actually not required to have them sprinklered, but we are.
And they're attached. I mean, it looks like they're in clusters of 3 or 2, so there are firewalls and everything between the
Yes.
properties.
Correct.
And when he talked about if you have a 3-story, all 3 floors are from the ground up, that's 1 unit.
Correct.
Anything else?
Mr. President, if I could just add to that,
Sure.
our fire marshal does review the plans and he does go out on site and review that they're built to plans. So hopefully that gives some added assurance.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, we got a second round of comments from the fire marshal just today. So.
Okay. Anything else? If not, is there a motion on this matter?
I move the docket number 2023-10-DP petition for approval of a development plan for the expansion of the Hoosier Village CCRC with 89 attached townhomes on 26.8 acres being zoned special use 7 SU7 be approved based on the findings in the staff report and staff recommendations, submitted findings, and subject to resolution of outstanding review items identified by town engineer as referenced in the staff report.
For a second.
Second.
Any further discussion? I'll do a voice vote on this one. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by nay. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next on the docket, I'll read them both together. 2023-11 PPA, which is a Henke Development Holiday Farms Lot S of Section 7 Primary Plat Amendment. Petition for approval of primary plat amendment subdividing 17.123 acres of 37 single-family lots block for future single-family and the remainder of Lot S being zoned planned unit development Holiday Farms PUD. 4 waivers of the subdivision control ordinance are requested. And 2023-12 DP, same petition for approval of development plan of 37 single-family lots of block for future single-family homes and the remaining portion of Lot 5 or S being on 17.123 acres and zone planned unit development, Holiday Farms PUD. 4 waivers of the subdivision control ordinances are requested. Roger?
Thank you, Mr. President. As mentioned, the petitioner for these next 2 petitions is Henke Development Group. 2 companion petitions, a primary plat amendment and a development plan. The reason, and I will begin with the primary plat amendment. Reason why this is coming before you is that this lot S went through the primary platting and it has even been recorded through a secondary plat as Lot S of Section 7. When it was primary platted and recorded as on the secondary plat, it is a single lot of approximately 17.123 acres. The petitioner is wanting to subdivide that single lot into 37 single-family lots, a block for future single-family lots, and the remainder of Lot S for the historic building. So we kind of have to go back to the beginning and do a primary plat amendment to then be able to proceed forward. So that's what brings us here today. You'll see up on the screen of the location map. And again, this is Lot S of Section 7. It's located on the extreme northeastern corner of Holiday Farms. It has some frontage on Michigan Road to the east, and then to the south would be some of the commercial lots that are planned for Holiday Farms, and then to the southeast or southwest and west would be single family lots of Holiday Farms. And then it is bordered on the north by single residential lots, not within Holiday Farms. The property is all zoned PUD, as you see on the zoning map. And then finally, if we get around to the plat drawings themselves. There we go. Again, this shows the area that we're talking about in relation to the remainder of Holiday Farms, which is this entire area. And again, we're talking about just the northeastern corner of that. This is an enlargement of that specific, again, what is right now a singular lot S that they want to divide in this manner. They would have the remaining part of lot S would be here, which is the historic home that is going to be retained. Then we have a number of single family lots, some that would be served by an extension of Marketplace Drive, others that would be served by Cherwell Drive, and then a double loaded cul-de-sac that would be served by, I believe it's Gartmore Way. And then the remaining block A is this area on the extreme northeastern corner of this area. The various departments of the town have reviewed both the primary plat and development plan. We've considered the proposed uses, development and architectural standards for new development, the traffic impact on existing and proposed streets and drainage within and outside of the project's boundaries. And the primary topic of interest that remains for staff is that the final resolution of just block A, that the petitioners indicated that this area will be platted in the future for additional single family lots. But we don't have any paperwork for that. And it's just one of those items that we feel still needs to be kind of tied up. That's the only remaining item for either the development plan or the primary plat amendment. Staff supports conditional approval of docket number 2023-11 PPA and 2023-12 DP. I should note that staff is also in support of the 4 requested waivers from the petitioner. The conditional approval that staff is recommending is subject to resolution of the remaining TAC comments. We're glad to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Roger.
Can I get a quick clarification?
Sure.
This is not section 7, this is section 9.
And I thank you for bringing
Is
that
that
up.
not,
In much of the paperwork that's been submitted by the petitioner, initially it was submitted as section 9. As staff got into it and realized that, no, this required a primary plat amendment of lot S of section 7.
but per these drawings, lot S is identified in section 9.
That's from earlier, that they have not made the transition yet, that they're
Okay.
right now, as it exists today, there is not a section 9.
Okay,
This in the future may be referred to as section 9.
okay,
But right now, what we're dealing with is a primary plat amendment of lot S of section 7.
gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Petitioner, are you ready? Are they online? Okay. That's it. Okay.
There you go. Hi, everyone. Betsy Garfield here.
You must be muted.
There we are. There we go. Is that better?
Can you hear us?
Oh, still can't hear you. We're doing something on our end.
Okay. Is that better? Can you
Yeah,
guys-
we've got you. Go ahead.
Okay, I was gonna say, it's showing unmuted. Betsy Garfield with Hinkie Development, and I'm here with Brad Hinkie as well. Roger, thank you for that great overview. We appreciate it. I realize that it's a little bit complicated, but you've explained that perfectly. We appreciate your time, so.
Yeah, we're really excited with it's amazing. We're already here, one of the last phases of Holiday Farms, and as Roger indicated, we're bringing through 37 custom lots here as one of the last phases, and really neat on the north side of the drive there. Those would all be tree lined
lots there. And then on the south side, they would, on the western portion, they would overlook the 12th hole. And then as you work your way east, it would be part of the village, the marketplace area there. As Roger indicated, the block on the north, we do plan to bring that through right away as well. That would just be additional single family, being similar sizes to what you see there, anywhere in the 60 to 70 foot range, somewhere in there. I think there could be maybe 6 or 7 lots. I think we missed the date by a couple weeks, so that'll follow here shortly. But thank you all for your time, and we're here to help with any questions we can.
All right, thank you. At this point, is there anybody in the public who'd like to comment on this matter? We have someone approaching.
Good evening. Doug Pickering on 3525 Dartmoor Way, immediately to the south, Blott and Holiday Farms there. Just curious what's going to happen with the trees that are currently in this plotted area.
All right. Would you like to comment? Did you hear what he said?
Yeah.
We did. I couldn't tell exactly where he was saying in the plotted area.
It's if you look at the planned lot F10, I believe.
Where's the landscape?
The ones that they back up along that fence row.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you referring to the north side, the fence row on the north side?
Actually, it's the lots to the south immediately as you go to the north on Dartmoor Way and turn to the right to, I think you're calling it Dartmoor Court or Dartmoor Circle.
Yeah, so the trees that are there in between, those would be part of that easement that wouldn't be touched. And then the northern portion of that lot, I believe it's lot V10. Some of those would potentially come out with their build, but the southern portion would not be touched there.
So to be clear, the portion on V10 would be taken down. Is there anything that would replace that, since that lot backs in basically to my lot?
Anything south of their building setback line would not. Where the house could build, some of those would potentially come out. That is something that on the trail there, we're happy to plant a couple additional trees in there too, if that helped there.
Sure. What about the power line easement that's there? Is that staying as is with this extension?
That is, that's correct. The center line of that is where it's shown in gray where the E is, and there's a dashed line across. That would be the electrical easement going through there.
And then in terms of drainage and so forth, where does this flow back? Because I think that goes towards what is maybe 13 and so forth. Is it supposed to flow that way, or is it coming back towards 12?
Chris Wiseman, our engineer is on here. I know he's worked with the town on the drainage. I'm not as familiar with the exact flow of it. Chris, are you there?
He might be.
No, he's not online.
You can follow up. That's fine.
Yeah, we absolutely can. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Anybody else like to comment, questions? If not, open it up to members of the planning commission. So when you come forward and get the amendment or the plat for the lot, S, I guess, the remaining, is that just gonna extend off that cul-de-sac?
Correct.
Yeah, we,
Mhm.
we would envision, and we submitted, we just missed it by a few weeks, but just doing a private drive off of that, and then it could get another 4 or 5 lots. And initially, we just weren't sure with the budding 421, but now that the berm is going in out there, we think it sets up really well to just be additional residential as part of that section.
So it would remain a cul-de-sac and you just, I mean, it wouldn't be a cul-de-sac, that'd be kind of a bubble, if you will, in the street, and then just extend out.
That's correct. Just do a private drive off the east
Okay.
side of that cul-de-sac.
Mhm.
Anything else?
I think my only concern, and I'll speak on behalf of my BZA role, is we're seeing a lot of requests for people that can't fit pools on their property, and they're being told by the developer to just come to BZA and we'll let them do it. That is not the case. If they can't fit it on their site, they don't get it. So it'd be great if you guys could communicate to your folks that they need to plan for that ahead of time, because I think we had 4 petitions last month for people that wanted to extend, and Zionsville allows secondary structures in the right of way and building setback areas. You guys unfortunately do not, the way you structured your PUD. And so we're bearing the brunt of I think poor communication to those residents that they can just kind of do what they want and we'll approve it on our end. So as these lots are developed, making sure that they understand that they can't build past that line would be appreciated.
But again, if we recall, those are 2 independent decisions that.
They are.
Yeah.
But
so they can always come and ask. It's still subject to.
They are.
Both parties have to agree, essentially.
Correct. But they've created a PUD that doesn't allow for it.
We appreciate
if they're going to expand the lot count with more people, those people need to be they need to be made aware of what they can and can't do because of the way the PUD was written the first time.
As we're looking through these drawings, I'm not finding, is there a matrix on here as to what the setback lines are going to be?
They're in the setback lines are identified in the drawing specifically for each lot.
And there is a matrix on sheet P100.
P100.
Yeah, it's at the bottom of the page.
In the lower right-hand corner. P100.
Chris, I'll reference your question too real quick while you're looking. We appreciate your comments on that, and we were made aware that there were several that came forward on that, and we'll work on that on the front end to help you guys there.
Thank you.
Anybody else? If not, this will take a motion on each docket item. So would somebody like to make a motion on 2023-11 PPA?
I move that docket number 2023-11 PPA, a petition for approval of a primary plat amendment subdividing 17.123 plus or minus acres previously platted as Lot S of Section 7 into 37 single-family lots, a block for future single-family lots, and a remainder of Lot S being zoned planned unit development, the Holiday Farms PUD, be conditionally approved, subject to the resolution of items noted within the comment letter, Exhibit 5, based on the findings of fact as presented with waivers for design speed standards, street blade standards, design and construction standards for typical residential cross sections, design and construction standards for driveway spacing from intersections.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Again, I'll go with a voice vote on this one. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by nay. The motion carries 7-0. Docket number item 2023-12 DP.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Still got one more. Got the
Yeah.
second one. Two
Sorry.
separate.
Or if we needed to, we were getting hit on.
I move that docket number 2023-12 DP, a petition for development plan approval to provide for the development of 17.123 plus or minus acres previously platted as Lot S of Section 7 into 37 single-family lots, a block for future single-family lots, and a remainder of Lot S with common areas for private roadways in the PUD, Planned Unit Development Zoning District. Be conditionally approved, subject to the resolution of items noted within the comment letter, Exhibit 5, based on the findings of fact and as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Get a voice vote. All in favor, signify by aye. Aye. Opposed by nay. That motion carries also 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you all.
much.
Next on the docket, take these together, 2023-14 DPA. Hy-Vee Inc. Food Store, 6125 South 700 East Zionsville. Petition for approval of development plan amendment for the Hy-Vee Food Store being 112,697 plus minus square feet on 17.93 acres, lot 1. And zoned rural general business GB, and 2023-15 DPA, Hy-Vee Inc. Convenience Store, 6125 South 700 East Zionsville. Petition for approval of development plan amendment for the Hy-Vee convenience store being 55,062 plus minus square feet on 1.36 plus minus acres, known as Lot 5 and zoned rural general business GB. Roger?
Yes, sir. Thank you. As mentioned, two more, not directly companion petitions because they do stand alone, but they're both related. So I'll present these together. The first is 2023-14 DPA. This is for a development plan amendment of the Hy-Vee Food Store, the larger grocery store that's being proposed. And I have a location map up on the screen for you. To orient you, north is up, which is always preferred. Across running east-west is Whitestown Parkway, and running along the east side of the site is County Road 700 East, and it kind of winds down around the south side of the site. The food store is planned to go on lot 1 of the Hy-Vee plat, and it would be located in this general area of the site. The other development plan amendment before you tonight is for the convenience store and fueling station, often referred to as the C store. It is to be located up in the northeastern corner of the overall site, approximately where the hand is located at this time. The zoning for both sites is rural GB. Here you see it in relation to the other properties around. To the west is the Lowe's property, which is under the Whitestown zoning jurisdiction. Also properties to the north are also under Whitestown's jurisdiction. Off to the east of the Hy-Vee property, to the northeast is the Get Go location. And then south of that, this parcel is to be developed for the Adler apartment development. And to the south is the single family development.
Royal Run.
Thank you. Was drawing a blank right there. Moving on to the development plan drawings for it, for this project. Again, this is the overall site plan, and unfortunately now north is off to the left. So again, as point of orientation, this is Whitestown Parkway. The food store, the reason for it coming through as a development plan amendment, there are essentially 3 changes that are being made to the store. First, it is getting smaller in overall size. The original approval last year was a store of approximately 150,000 square feet. The new proposal is for a store of almost 113,000 square feet. And so just the reduction in size is one item. By reducing the size, that also then changes the building elevations, obviously, just somewhat compacts them. The building materials and the overall design, or the primary design of the structure, did not change, but the building's elevations obviously got shorter in length. The third change that is being proposed for this is that when the original project came through, the drive aisles for the pharmacy pickup and also the food pickup were located on what would be the east end of the building, where my hand is located now. That area is right now being reserved for possible future expansion if Hy-Vee would ever want to do that. But those services, those drive-through pickup aisles were relocated to the west side of the building down here in this area. So again, those are the three primary changes to the food store: reduction in size, change in building elevations, and the relocation of those drive-through services. Now, changing the focus to the e-store, and I'm going to zoom in on it a little bit more to make it easier to see. Again, this is located up in the northeastern corner of the primary plat area for the entire development. For orientation, White Sound Parkway here, running along the north side of the site, and County Road 700 east along the east side of the site. The change to the building is that while the food building got a little smaller, the C-store got a little bit bigger. Just a new model, I guess, that Hy-Vee is utilizing for this site. It grew by about 900 square feet. So again, similar things. The size of the building changed, therefore the elevations changed a little bit. We don't have a change in flipping of the aisles or anything like that here. But one other change that did occur was, and I will go to the C-store elevations here, the canopy over the fuel pumps now has a slight angle to it, which it didn't before. I don't think it's a major item. I just want to make you aware of the change. So again, the reason for the C-store needing a development plan amendment is that it got a little bit larger. The building elevations changed. They also have retained similar building materials and colors as they had during the previous approval. The materials and colors used on the C-store mimic those of the larger food store. So it will be one harmonious development between the two. With that, staff is in a position to support conditional approval of both, subject to the resolution of comments within the attached comment letters. Again, this is for dockets number 2023-14 DPA, the food store, and 2023-15 DPA, the convenience store. Be glad to answer any questions you might have.
All right, thank you. At this point in time, Commissioner.
There's normally a plug-in. Yeah, I'll take that one. Hi, good evening. Brian Sheward with Kimley Horn and Associates, offices at 250 East 96th Street, Suite 580. I'm here representing Hy-Vee. On the phone, I believe, is John Brem from Hy-Vee out in Iowa this evening. So if there's a specific question that I may not be able to answer, hopefully he will be able to. As is typical, Roger did a great job there. I don't think I need to go into extreme detail on what I've got here, but I did want to highlight a few items. Let me skip to this real quick. So this is just as a comparison. This is what we brought before you late last year. This was the slightly larger building. You can see that the aisle, or I should say the pharmacy pickup, as Roger outlined, was on the east side, which is the upper part of the plan. If I skip ahead to the next, maybe I toggle back and forth a little bit, you can see that in large, in my opinion, for the most part, it's the same development with some minor changes there with the building flipping, essentially a mirror of itself. And in fact, I would also say the back of the building facing south is technically further away from Royal Run now, if you want to count that as a benefit. But the screening, the pond, and the orientation, the same traffic flow, all that is the same. We kept the traffic study as it was, which had a slightly larger building. There was no reason to modify that for the smaller building. Plus, if they come back in the future, we understand they would need to come back to this board for any type of expansion to this building. We don't believe that. I don't think it'd be possible to get back up to 150,000 square feet with the outline there. Just to reiterate, we were here last month for the Adler at Zionsville, which you can see is up kind of the upper right portion of the screen. One thing that we are working with the county highway department, who controls County Road 700, is pedestrian connectivity. I know that was brought up earlier on another petition of certainly makes sense to be concerned about that. And so at the south leg, which I don't have my mouse here, but on the south leg of that southern entrance, which is the one closest to the Adler at Zionsville green box, we're going to be installing what they call a hawk signal. So somebody walks up, pushes a button, it's got a mast arm with a light, that light will turn red. Somebody is able to walk across the street. So that's been part of the conversations over the last few months with the county highway department on the best way to get people who would likely just walk across walk across the road. And there was connectivity to get over there, but we know people's tendency is to take a direct path. So this is a way to deal with that in a safe way. Again, detentions on the south side with the berm further to the south between the neighborhood and the store. Architecture, this is a kind of representative elevations there. You can see it's still the same motif, just as Roger said, truncated in its length. Again, that's the same picture that we had used last time. It's still the look of what they're proposing. My understanding is this will be the first prototype or the first kind of this new prototype built. So this is just a slight, and I'm not sure if that's based on market research and coming out of COVID and everything else, but it's the direction that they're going. Again, convenience store with fuel sales or the C store, there was very minor changes there. We already had an adequate amount of parking for the extra 900 square feet. So there was no additional parking added. This is before, this is after. Going back and forth, you can see very minor changes, same curb cut, same orientation. If the planning commission has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
All right, thank you. At this point in time, is there anybody in the public like to comment on this matter? Okay, being none, I'll open it up to members of the planning commission.
I'm glad that you recognize that pedestrians go for the straightest plane across and you're making it safe.
I realize this will come up at the time they get developed, but conceptually, what's the other 4 lots going to be?
I don't think they know yet. We put in a mix in the traffic study. If you go further east, you'll see some multi-tenant buildings there with fun days, and it's possible that could be a standalone restaurant, could be a bank. It's a difficult thing to project. We tend to pick on the conservative end when looking at traffic generation, but it could be very low generation, or it could be a couple sit-down restaurants. So I'm not sure if they know at this point.
All right. Any additional questions, comments? If not, we'll need a motion on both items. Docket number 2023-14 DPA, is there a motion?
Sure. I move that petition 2023-14 DPA, a development plan amendment petition for a 112,697 plus or minus square foot food store on 17.93 plus or minus acre site being in the GB district be conditionally approved based upon the findings of fact as presented with conditions as noted in the staff report and subject to resolution of comments within the attached comment letters exhibit 5.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? We'll take a voice vote. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed by nay. That motion carries 7-0. Docket number item 2023, that's 15 DPA.
I move that petition number 2023-15 DPA, a development plan amendment petition for a 5,062 square plus or minus square foot convenience store and fueling station on 1.36 plus or minus acre site in the GB district be approved as presented with conditions as noted in the staff report based upon the findings of fact and subject to resolution of comments within the attached comment letter exhibit 5.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion, comments? Again, a voice vote. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed by nay. That motion also carries 7-0. Thank you much. Next on the docket is 2023-16 PPA, Zionsville Development LLC, Pemberton Amendment of Block L. 8100 Abington Way, Zionsville, petition for the approval of primary plat amendment to establish a single-family residential lot with a waiver to allow a driveway within 75 feet of an intersection being zoned urban single and two-family residential RSF2. Janice?
Yep. Ready? There we go. Okay. This is Pemberton Block L. It's a petition for the approval of a primary plat amendment to establish a single-family residential lot with a waiver to allow a driveway within 75 foot of an intersection being zoned urban single and two-family residential or RSF2. Its address is 8118 Abington Way. It's also lot 48. This was contemplated and approved during the secondary plat approval process. This request is to provide for the addition of lot 48 into the section 2 of the subdivision. This request requires a waiver from the SCO 193.052 18B, which is the purpose of the primary plat amendment. The location map depicts the location of lot 48 of the Pemberton
That is
subdivision.
not accurate, by the way.
I beg your
That
pardon.
is the incorrect site. It's on the other side of the street, one more lot to the right,
Yep,
I think. Nope, to the right. Is it that one?
it's the one in,
Okay.
because the other one is in section 1.
This one is.
Yeah, just the one that's identified though is the site.
You're
For our
exactly
sake,
right.
It's not the site.
You're exactly right. Thank
So
you.
everybody, just so people aren't looking at that thinking that's not,
I was looking, I wonder, how is that within 75 feet of an
that's,
intersection?
it's on the other side of the street, down a lot.
Okay.
Why is that? Okay, let's look at the zoning map. Yep, same thing. Okay.
You actually have the ability in that PDF to move that box if you so choose.
Yep. So, okay, so we've identified, thank you, Chris, where that lot actually is. The recorded plat, which is your next exhibit, simply reflects the block L referred to as lot 48. The next exhibit is the proposed plat. Introducing the lot 48 is instead of block L. Got it? Thank you. Exhibit 6 is the petitioner's finding of fact. Also, you want to exhibit exhibit 7, which is the waiver findings, and the petitioner can speak further to you about this. In the engineering comments, you'll see are very minimal. The dedication statement can be revised. An elevation provided prior to the recordation of the plat if approved, and that's in the engineering comments. Waiver requests are tied to primary plat petitions and are required to be publicly noticed. The secondary plat was recorded in 2021 with lot 48 represented as block L because the lot was identified as requiring a waiver from the SCO, which was not contemplated during the primary plat process in 2005 or again in 2015. The developer opted to move forward and record the plat and now requests to include block 48 as a developable lot. Staff's position is favorable to the approval of the petition, subject to resolution of staff comments with consideration that this request is not atypical of a subdivision development. The Plan Commission and staff have historically been in favor of approving these requests, noting that traffic speeds within a platted neighborhood are controlled. The infrastructure laid out of the development lends itself to reduced traffic speed, and staff has no comment or concerns related to the waiver request. Again, staff's in favor of the petition. Happy to take questions.
All right, thank you. Is the petitioner present?
Thank you and good evening, Mr. President, members of the Plan Commission, Joe Calderon, attorney with offices at 11 South Meridian, Indianapolis, representing Zionsville Development LLC on what is a very minor amendment, we think. As Janice explained, and we did, I think, finally get the correct lot identified, which was in the materials all along. This was approved as part of the original development plan as a developable lot. last year when section 2 was going to get recorded, they realized that it did require a waiver of the driveway standards. So they went ahead and recorded the plat, understanding they'd have to come back for a subsequent waiver, which we have now done. We believe we meet the waiver requirements. This is very low traffic. There's already adequate common area right across the street and along 800. So there's no short shrifting of common area for the benefit of the residents. This is a lot that is compatible and consistent with the other lots that are adjacent to it. We believe we meet the other required findings, both for the amendment and the waiver. So with that, I'll stop and answer any questions that you may have. But
All right, thank you. At this point, is there anybody in the public who'd like to comment on this matter? Being none, is there any questions from any members of the Planning Commission? Being none, is there a motion on this matter?
I move that docket number 2023-16-PPA petition for the approval of a primary plat amendment to establish a single-family residential lot with a waiver to allow a driveway within 75 foot of an intersection being zoned urban, single, and two-family residential R-SF-2 be approved based on the findings in the staff report and staff recommendations, submitted findings, and subject to resolution of outstanding review items identified by the town engineer as referenced in the staff report.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion, comments? Once again, a voice vote. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed by nay. Motion carries 7-0.
thank you so much.
Other matters be discussed or considered. Obviously, the form-based code update is now rescheduled for next month. Again, we'll take that in the same order that we've got it here today. And then we've got some minor development plan amendments. 2023-22, Pepper Construction Hub Building 219, American Construction Point Up Building 846, Sila Capital LLC Adler Apartments, and GRB Buildings 1 and 2. Who would like to comment on that?
I'll take it.
All right.
Both of these buildings or these minor amendments are for the hub. Phase 1, this very first one is building 219. As we've informed Plan Commission in the past, section 194.127 does allow for the building commissioner to approve of minor amendments. This very first one is simply a fence installation, which Roger, go ahead and go through the exhibits so that they can see them. Very simply, this is a project presently in process. There's fence posts and chain link fence going north and south have been installed. Posts have been installed for the gate and fence area, but not for the chain link fence yet. Sliding gates are anticipated to arrive in the next 2 weeks, and then the project will be completed. They are working with the fire marshal to ensure that the Knox box combinations are communicated. And this is simply to ensure that they're fencing for their trucks just for increased safety. Moving on to the light poles at building 846. We previously had approved, Plan Commission previously had approved additional trailer spaces at building 842. These lights have simply been installed for additional safety. They are an approved height of 15 foot. They're located just north of 846. And again, it's for additional safety.
Yes. We had a discussion about this. So what I asked them to do is when we do have minor development plan amendment, to bring it forward to us when they occur, so we can get a feel for what they're approving. And if we feel like it might be something that we want to have come back to the Plan Commission, we can kind of instruct them through experience. So that's kind of where we left it at this point in time. So the other two items are 2023-08 DPA. Go head myself, the Silent Capital LLC Adler Apartments.
Yes, on the Adler information. This is under your other matters, simply to bring the Plan Commission up to date. Because also the resident in Royal Run, if I say her last name wrong, I apologize. Barabi, I believe, was interested in having us report to the Plan Commission. That's why you're seeing this information right now. Exhibit 1 is very simply a letter from the representative of that project, Mr. Andrioli, to the remonstrator, informing her of the fact that the trash enclosure has now moved more north on the other side of the maintenance building. You'll see her response to Mr. Andrioli, not extremely satisfactory. That is the one and only time that I heard from this remonstrator. Mr. Andrioli did again reach out one more time and let her know that the project had explored all of its options in moving that trash enclosure in other areas north, and simply had landed on where Plan Commission was pointing apparently at the Plan Commission approval date. And so that is where that trash enclosure is going to land. Again, I never heard back from her, but I am following her request to inform the Plan Commission. In addition, Plan Commission tasked staff to take a look at the fence and ensure that we're comfortable with what the fencing materials, height, location would be. You'll see in Exhibit 3 that Roger has pulled up now. And this is still in review, by the way, along with the additional remaining staff comments. Not that there are many, and not that staff is concerned that they will not be satisfied, but this is to show you the type of fencing that is intended for that area, for the berms that are between the project and the Royal Run subdivision, and that fencing has been extended down toward where the maintenance building is, which is now in front of, as far as Royal Run is concerned, the trash enclosure behind it. Hopefully I've explained that well.
Okay. Any questions, comments?
I mean, I do feel like they met the intent of what we asked them to do. Yeah. They moved it probably 60 foot further to the north, and now there's the maintenance building to hopefully block some of that sound and additional wall and fencing. So.
And then last item on the docket is 2303 DP and 2304 DP, GRP building 1 and 2 architectural review subcommittee approved the revisions to both buildings with elevations.
So I'm going to report out on that if that's okay.
That's fine.
So we had a subcommittee of myself, Ms. Madrick, and Mr. Hurst that met a couple Fridays ago, maybe. May 5th, thank you. And we discussed with the petitioner the revised elevations. I think we were satisfied. I think we felt like building 2 was the one that had probably the least pleasing design initially, and they made the most headway on that. One thing that we did catch in the image that's up, the upper right image, no, go back to right where you were. No. Oh, there you go. So the rendering shows a thinner, I'll call it eyebrow that sticks out. And the elevation still showed it thicker. So we asked for clarification, is the rendering correct or is the elevation correct? They noted that the rendering was correct. And so you can see they've dropped the thickness of that eyebrow, if you will, by 18 inches, which kind of makes it feel a little bit lighter. We did confirm that the columns are they're meant to represent a motorcycle frame and are kind of a little kitschy, but they're not structural. So if,
by the way, not a finding of the
subcommittee. It's not a finding of fact.
my personal comment. But that they were not structural. So if at some point in time this reverted to some other building, they could be removed without impeding the structure of the building. And then if you have the second building elevations, I think you'll notice that this is a drastic change from last time. Completely different material palette, different form of the building, completely different signage. And I think we liked the signage of the other one better. It was more logo like, but this meets the requirements of the actual dealership branding. So we were fine with it and appreciated the change in design and material palettes. So it received unanimous approval by the subcommittee.
All right, thanks very much. Is there any other matters to discuss? Mike? Nope. Roger, Janice? All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? Second. All in favor? Aye. I don't have to ask anybody's opposed.
Oh, I don't have a few signatures, or there are a few signatures missing.
There's one, that's coming.
Well, remember, I'm not signing the Wild Air.
Okay.
I haven't seen the Wild Air front line.
Wild Air was a rezoning. You signed those.
There was a